like the incel.
What does that have anything to do? You seem to make it.
The whole ideology of like of incels is like.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off here just to read a super chat because I'll miss it. Super chat for $5.99. Thank you. Pinkerton says, Rob, this is a Destiny or very least Destiny fanboy. Similar voice, same vocabulary, extremely close talking patterns, and Spurg's the same way. Whatever. I don't care if you like Destiny.
Okay. I mean, I am. I don't care. Like, I know. Okay. Cool.
Nonetheless, again, so here's where we are now. First, you seem to suggest that Trump was uniquely bad for inciting violence and that
no. Okay,
please let me finish. Then you admit, okay, actually Biden did incite violence, but it's for a good reason. Then when I bring up that comes off the heels of a month ago an assassination attempt on Trump, you go, by a Republican. That's irrelevant to the point we're making here anyways, but if we're going to focus on that, it seems like it was a Republican that donated to Act Blue. You don't have a good answer for that, so you just say, well, he may have been an incel. Okay. How does that? Like, okay, so let's say I accept that. Let's say I accept that. I don't know that. We know very little about the guy. There have been classmates that have said varying things that I've heard. Sure. We don't have anything definitive. But let's say for the sake of argument, I'd say, okay, he was an incel. So now I'll restate my position. You appear to be saying Joe Biden just called for violence against Trump a month after an attempted assassination attempt on him by an incel. Good?
Oh, okay, fine. But I don't. Was I coming in here? Okay, fine. Let's argue about like. I'm sure we'll disagree about like whether the incitement to violence thing, like whether Joe Biden has like a moral right to incite violence.
You're saying so. I just want to be clear. You're conceding that Joe Biden was inciting.
I don't know if I would have to think about this more. But for the sake of this argument, for the sake of this specific debate, where I'm not gonna take like a 10-minute pause to like think about it, unless you want me to do that.
What I would say is he wasn't, and Donald Trump wasn't. I would say both of them were saying things that they thought that they believed, and even if you don't think that they believed them, it doesn't matter. That's not calling for violence.
I don't
any
know
more than if someone says, I think the country's systemically racist, I don't think that's a call for violence. No, you do. Direct self-defense is different than political violence. Now, given that, you said if something's truthful, so now we're at this. We'll talk about this in a second, but I have a question for you. Given that you said that you're okay with incitement to violence, brief side question. So then you're also okay with violence if it's for a true purpose that's necessary.
Yes.
So you think? So just to be clear, you think that let's say Donald Trump wins the election, it would be okay to commit violence against him, correct? Because he is a fascist.
Yeah, I think it probably, like Donald Trump acting like a fascist, absolutely.
At the time when that bullet skimmed by his ear, he was clearly the front runner for president, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that bullet should have killed him?
Am I allowed to say that?
Hey man, I don't mind if you say it. Go for it.
Well, yeah, I would have rather if that went through his skull.
You think the assassin did a good thing?
Well, I think he did the bad thing by missing. But if the alternate scenario happened, then yes.
Okay. See ya. Fucking fascist. Notice the people that call you fascist and call their opponents fascist are those people. Now, remember when I was after Destiny was going on his Piers Morgan shtick and all that, and I said, you understand how radical some of his younger supporters are? You understand? Now do you see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? Do you see? They just have the balls to come out and say it. Thanks so much, Frank. There's a guy so certain of his convictions that he's willing to call for the assassination of a political figure that he doesn't like. Thanks so much for the following. And the guy fucking rambled and meandered and couldn't get 2 words out straight the entire time. You know what's crazy? I'll forget. 2 years from now, that guy will reach out to me and say, hey, you want to talk? And I'll forget that, no, I don't want to talk with someone. A precursor to having conversation with me, as I've said many times, is not calling for the assassination attempt of politicians that you don't like. That's a precursor. So he does not meet that precursor. He's no longer welcome on this show. Am I allowed to say it? Sure, I allow you, big boy. Have at her.